5-day weekend.
Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Friday, June the 30th. It better be, at least. It is. Good. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change, joined by Steve Helwagen. It is Friday. It is June 30th. It is the end of the month. So if you have not subscribed to the YouTube page, you are not helping us attempt to defeat the Georgia, Penn State, and Michigan site for signups this month. It's the last day. You procrastinators and Bucknutters need to get out there and make us proud and do so. It's also the last day before a holiday weekend. It's the last day officially of Dave Biddle's 2-week vacation. I think we can all drink to that. He'll be back on Monday. And I don't know what I'll be doing. Rehab maybe. But today we will answer some questions. There's been some really cool stuff going on the recruiting front that Steve and I will tackle. And then we will answer some questions on the team and call it a day. Steve, in the process of moving, he's carved out some time for us, which we enjoy and appreciate. 2 big-time targets for the Buckeyes. Aaron Scott and Marquise Lightfoot have announced their commitment dates. July 30th for Aaron Scott, July 3rd for Marquise Lightfoot, live on 24/7 Sports. Your thoughts on both of those? These are some low-hanging fruit comments. I realize that, but teed you up there.
Yes, and very exciting because these are both national top 100 guys in the composite on defense, and the only way you're ever going to get better on defense is with better players. And I know that also player development and scheme and play calling and execution and all that stuff, tackling, factor into this, but bigger, faster X's and O's gives you a better chance. And this is what Ohio State's lacked, in my opinion, on defense here the last several years. And so I think it's important. You're going to see Marquise Lightfoot in particular. He's going to announce on July 3rd, and everyone seems to think that Ohio State is the team to beat with him. Chicago area defensive end. I studied his tape a little bit, 6'5", 230 range, probably going to play closer to 250, 260, maybe even more than that. And I'm telling you, he's got the frame to add more weight, obviously, and he is a potential difference maker. He is a high motor guy, no question about it. And then you're talking about back here in Ohio with Aaron Scott, Springfield, Ohio. Doesn't get any closer to home really than that. And 40 miles down the road. And as I guess it's been reported, that's his dad's birthday. And Ohio State's got to like their chances there with Aaron Scott, adding him to Bryce West, the Glenville player who committed to the Buckeyes at corner. Again, 2 more national top 100 players. Ohio State, I don't want to say locks for both, but got to really like where Ohio State is standing right now. And this is an important just one more piece in building a better defense for the Ohio State football team.
Yeah, the hullabaloo with Scott recently is that, as Steve mentioned, he will be announcing on his dad's birthday, and this has been a close recruitment. He's down to a final 3 of Oregon, Michigan, and Ohio State. I think everyone believes it's essentially a 2-team race, and like Steve said, he's publicly come out and said his dad is a big-time Buckeyes fan. That's not like rumor. Aaron Scott has said that out loud on the record several times. And then to announce that you're announcing on your dad's birthday, unless they have some kind of, bizarre thing going on over there, I would think you'd want to hook your pops on. I would certainly hope that if my son was committing somewhere, I'm serious, on my birthday, that it would not be to the arch rival of my squad in a state where the rivalry has become national lore. So
what a cruel joke that would be. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and crystal ball anybody anywhere. I really have never gotten that involved in that, but to me it seems like it's Ohio State. And again, this can't be understated. I mean, they get 5-star wide receivers falling out of bed every day, it feels like, and 4 and 5-star quarterbacks, and all these guys, 3 running backs. I mean, they have this wealth of talent on the offensive side of the ball. And it is about time that they have reconciled over there at the Ohio State College that they need better defensive players. And I think that they are starting to come through with a few here. And we've already seen, with Bryce West was one, certainly that really got the ball rolling. So just keep it going and add those two, and whoever else decides here. I think you'll see several guys commit because they want to get it out of the way before they start practice August the 1st. So to me, I think you'll see several guys. And man, this season's going to be here before we know it. Ohio starts playing games on like the 20th of August, whatever that Friday is, around that period of time. And I mean, it'll be here before we know it.
Yeah, and like you said, sometimes there is luck in recruiting, and to have Bryce West and Aaron Scott both be Ohio residents and in the same class and play corner that's luck. But at the same time, you got to take advantage of that. And look, traditionally, the difference between Ohio State and the other Big Ten schools, generally speaking, is Ohio produces more Division I players, and you've got to capitalize on that. Now, we talk a lot about their ability to reach nationally and worldwide through Canoe on line one, but it's very, very impressive if they can put this together. So we'll be looking for that. What is the team doing? So that's what we're going to check up on now with Steve, kind of get a sense of where we are. Fireworks, this is kind of a pseudo holiday weekend. I know in Dayton they're doing the fireworks on Monday, July 3rd. I assume Red, White, and Boom in Columbus. I've done that before. What is that, the 3rd? That'll be the 3rd. So what are the Buckeyes doing this weekend? Is everybody home and partying? And we're worried about the phone ringing late at night, because I always do. I have kids. State of the Buckeyes right now, heading into the holiday weekend.
Yeah, this is obviously a busy time, I think, for the Ohio State football team. The players are probably working out on the order of 4 days a week, give or take, taking summer classes. But this is when you really build in that conditioning aspect. And really, we haven't had the hot weather that you would normally expect this time of the year. We're probably about 5 or 10 degrees below our average. We know that some hot weather is in the offing still this summer in July and August, particularly during the preseason camp. It's usually in the 80s, if not pushing 90 almost every day that time of the year. And it really is a difficult time, I think, for these athletes. But I know Coach Mick Marotti and his staff are working this team as hard as ever to get them ready, to prepare them for the rigors of preseason camp. So when you look at it, that's really what's going on right now. They're taking some courses as well as doing the summer workouts, which are a combination of speed, strength, agility, all of that, really pushing the guys in every aspect, plus some football related drills. Assistant coaches are allowed some minimal amount of time with these players to brush up on technique. And I think also, again, that period from the end of spring until the beginning of preseason camp for the offensive line in particular is so critical, because they have got to make a quantum leap in that short amount of time from mid-April to August 1st. And they're in the middle of it right now, watching film, perfecting technique, and just general improvement of all aspects of offensive line play. So critical right now. So they're doing everything they can within their power, what's legal, everything else. If there is rules about how many hours the guys can work out and different things like that. But believe me, they're maximizing every day over there right now.
Yeah, we don't like to let current events and news seep into this podcast too much, but I do wonder if they're going to have to make the guys all practice inside, given the Canadian haze that's gripped the Midwest. Another challenge for those guys. Go ahead.
There was one camp, Sound Mind, Sound Body, up in Michigan, where the air quality is probably even worse than it is here. They had to cancel the camp just because of the air quality up there. So, yeah, that is a factor. I'm sure they're trying to take care of the guys the best they can.
Based on what you saw, and we talked about getting better on defense, obviously they did I think the most underrated thing that they did was their work in the portal to fix the secondary, just like lickety split like that, to get the number one safety in the portal in Jihad Carter and Davison Igbinosun. I'm not sure he was the number one rated safety out there, but the idea of getting a stud like that who has 3 years of eligibility left was just a coup. And then you've got guys coming on like Sonny Styles and CJ Hicks. To me, when you're talking earlier about stacking defensive players, those are guys that would look just as comfortable in an Alabama or Georgia jersey, and that's important. Who has passed the look test for you at these quick practice? We only get the idea that media has access to practice. I put that in air quotes. Back in the day, they would say we had media access to practice. We had it for 15 minutes, and dudes would stand so far away you needed like a bionic lens to see numbers. So I don't know if that access is, but who's jumped out to you? Because these are some impressive dudes, and they're younger guys who in an off season can change the way they look.
Yeah, I think even with the spring game that everybody did get to see, you got to get that glimpse at CJ Hicks and Sonny Styles in particular. Those two young guys are going to play. I don't know that we're going to pencil them in as starters in the first 11 to start the season, but it wouldn't surprise me if by the opener that one or both of them has worked their way into a starting position somehow, some way. And I can't predict,
Right.
what that would be, or, that could involve somebody else not being available or what. But those two guys in particular, I think have got to play some type of role. Davison Igbinosun, I would almost put him as a co-starter right now with Denzel Burke and also Josh Hancock. I think if you have three really good corners to rotate, given the fact that teams throw the ball so much and there's a lot of running involved in covering these guys, that they wear down. I mean, it's just the fact of the matter. So the idea that you're going to play an entire competitive game with two corners is just not going to work. So that was the problem the last few years. They didn't have two healthy competitive corners to get through a lot of these games. You saw a lot of the breakdowns and result of that. So I think Igbinosun is certainly in the mix to play 40% of the plays, if not more, 60%, who knows, 70% perhaps during the upcoming season. And he's a godsend, certainly. Jihad Carter, he went down with a little bit of a knee tweak, I believe, midway through the spring. It was not considered serious. He is a guy that came in and mixed things up right away, brings in several years of playing experience from Syracuse, and I think he's going to play quite a bit. Now, again, what to say, what does that mean in any of the three positions? I don't know. I think they have like 8 or 9 really good candidates at safety, and they're going to sift through that during preseason camp. And then everybody's healthy. You get them all out on the field. You measure how everybody does. You play the best 3, 4, 5 guys, and that's what they're going to do, I think, to start the season. But I think Carter's definitely among their top 4 or 5 safeties to start the season. Who else is in that mix? Perhaps Sonny Styles, Lathan Ransom, Martinez. He got a ton of time. Cam Martinez in the spring. So you've got a wealth of guys. Again, 4 or 5. You're deeper at both at all those positions than you've been at any time in the last year or two. So I think that really is going to work out great in the back end. You're going to have improved play. It all starts up front. I think we had that in the boarding house yesterday, how it all starts up front, and the up front's got to be much better as well. And I think it will be. But again, theory, putting it down on paper and then watching it happen on September 11th and 18th and whatever, those are two different things. So we'll see how it comes together.
Yeah, one more positive I would say about the defense, and yes, it is Bucknuts, but I do think Jim Knowles year 2 will have an advantage over Jim Knowles year 1. Day 2, where the coffee machine is. I don't know how else to say it, but he's just be more comfortable. Another year with this level of talent, to be fair. He never coached at a place where he was, having to deal from strength rather than epoxy certain spots. So I do think he'll make a bigger impact this year. Not to mention the guys playing for him will be a little bit more comfortable. Defense is a lot about guys just being able to play on instincts, and so we look forward to that. I have high hopes for the defense this year being more competitive. I do think football in general, like you mentioned, we might have to start listing 3 corners and 3 wide receivers as starters anyway, the way the game has gone. 2 corners, you can't get anything done with 2 corners. So we almost need to be talking about the 4th and 5th corner, because those guys are going to – put it this way, the 4th and 5th corner is going to get a lot more snaps than the 4th and 5th wide receiver at Ohio State. You can take that to the bank.
I would agree with that.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here, come back, pay some podcast bills, and come back. And we are back. Steve, when is the next time we will get a chance to see the Buckeyes practice?
That's a good question. Obviously, they are in the preseason phase right now, the off-season conditioning. There's really no access to any of that. They will probably have a special skills camp where they bring in special needs kids and adults to go through a football camp, and that usually happens right before the start of preseason camp, and we'll generally get to talk to a few of the players at that point. The Big Ten meetings are in late July, and then preseason camp will start on or about August 1st, 2nd, somewhere in there, about 4 weeks before the first game. So I'm sure that the first day we'll probably be able to go out and get a gander, but again, they'll just be in helmets and jerseys, and not a lot to glean from that other than, ooh, he's wearing 35 this year instead of 34 and that kind of thing. So, not a lot that you're going to glean out of that. It's more of a dog and pony show to announce that the season is around the corner, as opposed to really blood and guts football coverage. So, I think we're all hopeful that we'll get to see a few practices in the preseason camp and get an idea. I would look for him to name a quarterback about midway through preseason camp, on or about the 15th to the 18th of August, about 2 weeks out, right as you're getting ready to hone in on this is Indiana. It's kind of crazy to think that they're opening the season with a Big Ten team for like the 3rd time in 6 years, when that never really happened before, and that it's Indiana again. It's like, got to get up for that big game with Indiana, a team that you usually beat by 4 or 5 touchdowns. But, the game is on the road, and it will be certainly plenty of reason to tune in that first Saturday at 3:30 on a new channel. Our comrades at CBS Sports.
How about that?
We'll have coverage. The Buckeyes, first game for Ohio State on CBS, I think, in 25 years. 1998, they opened the season at West Virginia, which was a Big East team at the time, and CBS had the Big East contract.
Major Harris?
Yeah, no, it was Bulger, Whitey Bulger. Yes.
MARC.
The Rams, Mark Whitey Bulger. They actually had a really good team. West Virginia, one of their better teams. Ohio State won the game 34-17. I was there. Kool and the Gang was playing in the parking lot. And you want to talk about, let's get down. It was something, man. It was a happening in Morgantown. They did play on CBS Sports Network against Navy. That game in 2014, it did not rate CBS apparently. When Navy plays Notre Dame, it's on CBS, but Navy plays Ohio State, could only get on CBS Sports Network. So there you go.
Was Urban on that game? Do you remember?
CBS Sports Network.
I would have been on that one.
It was their A team, Vern Lundquist and also Gary Danielson. They wanted the chance to do an Ohio State game, so they took a CBS sport. There may not have been a CBS game that day.
I just remember Urban doing a Ohio State game, and I think it was against Navy. And he spent the whole time basically recruiting Braxton Miller on the air. It was awesome. Anyway, that all worked out.
No doubt.
Okay. We had one really good long question here that I got. Okay, here we go. Steve, this guy wrote a book. Look at this. Michael Colwell came to play today. Hey, Steve, and everyone. I'm going to make a college football early playoff prediction in my Final Four. I want to know if this is something you might agree with or not agree with. He'll go with Ohio State as number 1 seed, Georgia 2, USC 3, and Florida State symbols. I don't know what that means. As 4. What do you guys think?
I think he's on to something there. I think Georgia is pretty clearly the team to beat. I think, two-time defending national champions, and they do have to have a new quarterback. The Stetson Bennett decade is finally over there at Georgia, but I think that they're going to be right in the hunt. Whoever wins the SEC is certainly in the playoff, I think. Ohio State, and again, this is very simple. It comes down to the second half of the last game at Michigan. Can you stop Blake Corum? Can you contain the run? 2 years ago up there, they could not. It was Hassan Haskins just lined up and ran all over them. And then last year, it was Corum's understudy, Edwards, who ran all over them, and they hit all those big plays. So to me, it comes down to that one game. If you beat Michigan and you win that one game, go on and win the Big Ten, then you're either the 1 seed or the 2 seed. If you lose that game, then last year you lost the game and still got in the playoff. I don't think that you can rely on that in a 14 playoff, the last year, the 14 playoff. So I do believe Ohio State has the more talented team than Michigan. I think Michigan does have a great advantage or a great benefit to have a dynamic player like Blake Corum who can house it at any moment from anywhere. What he did in his first 11 games before the Ohio State game last year was absolutely uncanny for Michigan at running back. So they didn't even need him to beat Ohio State last year. So Ohio State's got they're kind of like in a put up or shut up mode this year. You can talk about being great at college football, but, are you really, really a great team, a great program? You got to prove it once again out on that field, in the 100 yards, of that field. You've got to win your game each week, and they haven't been able to do that the last couple of years. So for them, psychologically, mentally, physically, these are all hurdles that Ohio State's got to overcome and prove it once again that they are the cock of the walk in the Big Ten. And until we know that, it's impossible to say, oh, they're the 1, they're the 2, they're the 3. I think they could be the 1. I think they could be the 2, no doubt. They could be 13-0, no question about it. They have the talent to do it. But will they put it together on that one Saturday where it matters more than anything in the world? And they haven't done it the last 2 years. So they have got to go out and win that game. They have the talent to win that game, but they have to put it together. A lot of that's going to be offensive line, quarterback. There's so many variables involved. But I like the teams that you mentioned. Florida State is certainly a dark horse coming out of the ACC that a lot of people are starting to believe in again. And we'll see, if that's going to work out there. USC, man, I was not impressed with what I saw. That Pac-12 championship game, they just absolutely spit the bit. And, I want to see, are they built for the long haul? That's the thing, which of these teams, Georgia, we know is built for the long haul. That's one thing we know as of right now. Anybody else in the country is looking up at them right now and saying, I want to be them. And that includes Ohio State. So Michigan, I don't think you can count them out of this discussion either for the top 4. Alabama is always going to be in the running, so it's going to be a fun year. There's going to be so many things that are going to upset what we believe. By the third week of the season, a lot of what we're thinking right now is going to be, torn up and thrown out the window because somebody else will have emerged and proven that, hey, we're legitimate. And so, it's just going to be a fun year, I think.
By the way, if you had TCU in the Final Four at this time last year, I got a rabbit's foot for you too as well. So
perfect example.
Yeah, and also I think the reason Florida State and USC are at least worthy of being considered, they have guys coming back at quarterback who are really impressive. Florida State, Jordan Travis, obviously USC, Caleb Williams, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner and fine Washington, D.C. native. But the other schools, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama are really running out first-time quarterbacks. So I guess that makes sense on some level. I'd be surprised if Ohio State wasn't in the playoff. I'm always surprised by that. And like you said, USC, I have to see them do it consistently over the course of a longer season. And I could see Georgia and Alabama getting back in there. Everyone's doubting Nick Saban too much right now. That's not a good thing for the I'm not much for wallpaper getting you
a wounded Saban is a dangerous Saban.
But why do that? That's nationally dumb. We should all get together and not do that. But
and the other thought, just really quick, Ohio State's got as much talent as any of these teams. 5 projected first-round NFL draft picks.
Conservatively,
I was going to say it could be 6, which would be just unheard of. So yeah, there's more talent at Ohio State than just about any other school in the country. Now it's how you assemble it, it's how you develop it, and it's the competitive stamina that they talk about a lot. I mean, that was what they preached for 365 days, and they didn't have it against Michigan. It was all talk, and it was, no action against Michigan last year. That's got to change, or the result will be the same.
If the result is the same, Chad Stryker, yes, I will. Despite being a brown liquor fan, I will invest heavily in the foundation's new vodka if we lose to.
What a hell of an idea!
I think that'd be unfortunate for the foundation that their alcohol sales would increase dramatically with a loss to Michigan. Yet we'd be all drowning our sorrows at the same time. So I think that's
hell of an idea. Catering to the fan base with liquor to pay the players. I love it. I do believe, I think the model has got to change at some point with all this TV money coming in. Sure. They got to pay the athletes, and regardless of Title IX, I know that there's going to be impact with that as well. But there's got to be, and that's why they've looked to Congress to try and help in some small way. But I tend to doubt they're going to be a effective solution to this.
Whether it's dealing with Congress or the Buckeyes, probably a good idea to have some vodka handy regardless. It's a holiday weekend, so we feel comfortable with that. We appreciate Steve stopping by mid-move. Very impressive that he'd take time away from his family, although time not carrying boxes also helps too. You guys have a great weekend. Have a good one, Bucknutters.